Republicans' last-ditch effort to change Nebraska's electoral college system has failed. If successful, the switch would have made Vice President Kamala Harris's path to victory harder. For context, Nebraska and Maine are the only two states that do not award all their electoral votes to the presidential candidate who wins the state's popular vote. Instead, in Nebraska, 3 of the state's 5 electors vote according to the result of their congressional districts.
Back in 2020, Biden won 1 of Nebraska's electoral votes, while Trump won the other 4. Nebraska is traditionally a red state. Now polls currently predict a repeat of that 2020 scenario, and Republicans had taken some efforts to perhaps avoid it, which is why Senator Lindsey Graham skipped Senate votes to travel to Nebraska's capital, where he lobbied lawmakers to switch to a winner-take-all system. Lindsey Graham also talked about this effort on NBC. Let's watch.
It is a very close election. 63 days ago, Chuck Schumer led a coup to overthrow Joe Biden, and he's telling me or any other Republican what we should be doing. If they change the law in Nebraska, it won't be on the phone in the middle of the night. It will be through a democratic process. The entire federal delegation of Nebraska, House members and 2 senators, want this change. To my friends in Nebraska, that one electoral vote could be the difference between Harris being president or not, and she's a disaster for Nebraska and the world.
I hear you're calling it a coup. Of course, Democrats have the right to change who's at the top of their ticket.
So does Nebraska.
Very quickly, before we get to the Middle East, what do you think the chances are? What's the over-under that this change actually happens in Nebraska?
50-50, down to 2 people.
Okay.
But one Nebraska Republican state lawmaker, Senator Mike McDonald, is pushing back against Trump and effectively blocked the bid for a special legislative session to change the system. In a letter, McDonald wrote, quote, "After deep consideration, it is clear to me that right now, 43 days before the election day, is not the moment to make this change." To which Trump responded on Truth Social, writing, quote, "I would like to thank Governor Jim Hillen of Nebraska for trying to help the Republican Party simplify the complexity of the state's electoral map. It would have been better and far less expensive for everyone. Unfortunately, a Democrat-turned-Republican state senator named Mike McDonald decided for no reason whatsoever to get in the way of a great Republican common-sense victory." Trump added, quote, "I love Omaha and won it in 2016. Looks like I'll have to do it again." 43 days before the election, come on.
Well, I mean, there's nothing in the law that says you can't change it 43 days before the election. They were trying to make it the way every single other state, except Maine, is, which is all of the electoral votes go to the winner of the state. You want to start tweaking that and start apportioning it more in a more representative way. I'm all fine with that. Let's do that in California. Let's have, some of that electoral vote get shared by the Republican candidate. Millions of people vote for Donald Trump or Republican candidates in California. They get no representation in the presidential selection process because they happen to be outnumbered by Democrats in that state. Look, I think complaints about changing the process, whatever. It's perfectly within their purview to change this if they want. They're not going to do it. It's fine. If Democrats could do this too in Maine, it's who cares?
It's too smart by half. They are seeing how close everything is right now, and they're looking for every opportunity, because they're not able to turn electors like they did last time, to do it through legal paths, through loopholes. I'm not saying that law shouldn't be changed or not, or that it is legal or not. I'm just saying 43 days before the election, it's too smart by half. It's not a dirty trick. It's a trick.
Right, because the state legislature in the various states, right, under our Constitution, they get to decide how their electoral votes are awarded, and 48 states do it one way, and 2 states do it a slightly different way, 2 small states, and they kind of cancel each other out, and that's fine, and it doesn't matter.
True. With that being said, I don't think it's a good look for Trump. I worry about the senator now, because anytime Trump goes after anyone, it puts a target on their back, and this senator is doing his work. He stood up. He went against the Republican Party, even though he is a Republican. He put his career at risk, because when you're in a Republican legislature, you know that rankings, committees, all that stuff matters, and now he put his career at risk for taking a stand for this. And honestly, 43 days before election doesn't look good to voters anyway.
Well, the Democratic Party changed its candidate how many days before the election?
She was on the same ticket. Oh, come on, how many times do we have to argue this? Well, she's on the same ticket. We voted for her.
No, I don't begrudge.
And that's, by the way, how conventions have worked pretty much up until the late 70s.
Okay, I don't begrudge Democrats it was legally done.
Yeah.
Changing their candidate to maximize their chances of winning. That's something that gets a big thumbs up from the mainstream media when Democrats do it. Republicans try to maximize their chances of winning by suggesting changing this aspect of the law in Nebraska fully legal, nothing suspect about it, and that's, oh, it's a bad look, it's too close to the election. We had no debates for Kamala Harris. We had no, to pick her as the candidate.
Someone could have run
no one
against
signed
her.
off on her.
No, that's not
they
true.
couldn't. The process was total. She was selected
No.
by Democratic elites.
That's not how it works.
And the mainstream media
I know
and
that's
her
what
top
you guys
donors.
want to say works.
That's what happened.
What she did was she picked up the phone and she made phone calls to lawmakers and to DNC members. I know firsthand many people that have gotten phone calls from her because she wanted to make sure she was the first choice. And then there's something that happens. All these other people that were in consideration for running or thinking about running, they realize that the tide is going in one direction and it's too much of a political risk. The only person who stayed around was Marianne Williamson, but she couldn't figure out the pathway or how the process worked. Process is important. Sometimes it's overwhelming. Sometimes you clear the field because she's the sitting vice president.
If Democrats had had a real process to begin with,
when
they wouldn't
does that
have gotten
happen
in.
with a sitting president? I'm just saying.
Well,
I'm not saying
it was
right or wrong.
It was an unusual situation to have a sitting president, the oldest sitting president in history.
Of course.
So that is already a extraordinarily unusual situation. Right. So they would have benefited. Look, I'm not saying they had to do it. They didn't, and here we are. But the Republicans tried to hold a competitive primary process. They had actual debates. People went for it. They had actual elections in the primary and caucus states. Trump just won it.
Because a lot of Republicans
Democrats
don't
didn't do
want
that.
Trump. And Trump was not the sitting Democratic president.
A lot of Democrats didn't want Joe Biden, and they had no way to express that.
Okay, so the last time we had a primary with a sitting president was under Jimmy Carter, and he lost, okay? It was when Ted Kennedy challenged Jimmy Carter. Again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I want to have a process.
Republicans wanted Trump in a way Democrats didn't want Joe Biden.
You know what is unprecedented, though? Storming the Capitol and denying the election's outcome. And this is in conjunction with January 6th, right? In conjunction with storming the Capitol and a coup and denying the election and pressuring people to change the results. Having this move in conjunction with that is not a good look to voters. They are
the
trying
Nebraska
to
move?
Yes, it was
I
pushing.
think it's very silly to throw those things together. This is
Aggressive pressure by
totally
Trump.
legal. But it's again, the state legislature can determine how to award those electoral votes, and if they wanted to change it to be in line with 48 other states, to say that's akin to January 6th.
No, I didn't say
No.
in conjunction with it, it's a bad look. So when he's doing, it's death by 1,000 cuts, but it's not 1,000 cuts because storming the Capitol was not a cut, that was a bomb. But add all the little cuts with that, it's not a good narrative for the Republican Party to constantly be looking for ways for Donald Trump to cheat or not cheat or use little tricks.
It's not cheating. It's not a trick.
I didn't say it was or not cheat, using little tricks to get into the White House. He knows he does not have the electoral path. So what is he doing? He's making phone calls. He's still trying to get people to change results on Election Day. He's trying to change the legislature 43 days before the election, the law in the legislature. It's not a good look. They can do it after. Sure, go for it. It'll be great for the next Republican.
Republicans trying to win is not a good look from the Democratic perspective. That is very clear. Yes, Democrats don't want Donald Trump to win. Donald Trump thinks there are existential stakes, and Republicans think there are existential stakes to Democrats winning for the state of our economy and our foreign policy and all of that. And both sides are trying to win, and I just find it very interesting. The mainstream media, it's only a problem when Republicans try to do it, never an issue when Democrats do it.
The party is storming the Capitol. Gee, I wonder why they're critically looking at everything Republicans do.
Okay, more Rising right after this.